Okay, it tells me it's recording. Hooray. So before we get started, if you haven't already done so, you should switch your viewer to gallery view. And I'm going to share my screen so I can demonstrate how to do this. So no, I don't want to do that. I just want to share this. That's exciting. Can't do it. All right, so I'm not going to share my screen. Well, I guess I am going to share my screen. So what you'll be able to do is in the upper right-hand corner of your total Zoom screen, you should be able to see something that says gallery view. And if it doesn't say that, you probably are already in gallery view. If it says switch to speaker view, you're in gallery view, so don't worry about that. Then click on this blue square, which if you roll your cursor over a screen of a person who does not have an image up, you should see a little 3-dot button in the upper right-hand corner of their box. And if you click on that and you click hide non-video participants, you will then lose all of the folks who you're not supposed to see right at the moment. So I'm going to stop sharing. And if you're not in the show, your mics and your video is muted for the moment. We will have one 5-minute intermission, and we'll tell you when that is. And then after the reading's over, we'll have a short talk back with the playwright and the creative team about the play. So if you'd like to stick around for that, we'd love to have your feedback and your thoughts. And now I'm going to turn it over to Tim Slover, who is my co-conspirator in this course. So take it away, Tim.
Thanks, Sydney. Welcome everyone to this year's New Plays Workshop. New Plays Workshop happens every year in the spring semester. The plays that are in the New Plays Workshop are sent competitively, and we select the ones we want to do. This year we wanted to do 5 plays. That's the most, to my knowledge, that we've ever done, and that's an indication of kind of the interest and strength of people interested in writing plays here at the University of Utah. So that's very exciting for us. The play workshop doesn't work without actors, and so we're very happy that this is part of the curriculum of the actor training, the professional actor training program in the department, and also the music theater training program in the workshop, or in the department. So the first thing that happens in the semester is that students are partly voluntarily and partly by assignment given tasks to do. They become a creative team for each of the scripts. It's understood that everybody, even the writers, will be participating in the readings at the end. But we have stage managers and directors. Perhaps there's going to be a program posted that'll tell you kind of who the creative team is for today's play. If not, we can post that later. And we start with table work, which is just a term meaning that we all sit around and read the play, ask questions of the playwright. And then after that, we do that for a while. We get into the very exciting work, and this is where our trained actors really, really help out with new play development. We put the play on its feet as though we were rehearsing it, but the director stops and starts and asks questions, and sometimes the actors jump in and improvise a part because the writer says, I'm not sure how this scene will go. And then after that, but right toward the end actually of the semester, we cast all the plays as we've done now, and we ready them for readings. Well, obviously this semester is a little different from any semester we've done before. And so we were limited in our actual 3-dimensional exploration, as you can imagine. But I'm immensely proud of this particular group of 17 people because they have been creative, they've been diligent, and they have really been selfless about trying to do the best they can, and it's very good to help these scripts come to life. And we're very grateful to you also for tuning in this somewhat odd way, because this is the final step in the preparation for this semester. What you think of the play and what you comment on and what questions you have will really guide the playwrights from now on. Well, tonight's play is by Connor Johnson, and the play is called Of Ronald and Edith. It's kind of an unusual title. Let me get into that just for a minute. Every year on January the 3rd, 1 million or so people around the world lift a glass or whatever they happen to be holding and do a kind of unusual toast. The toast is to the professor. The professor in question is John Ronald Reuel Tolkien, the writer of The Lord of the Rings. And we tend to remember him, if we have a visual image of him at all, it's as the professor, somebody who is well into and perhaps a little past middle age, because that's when in the 1950s, The Lord of the Rings was published and gradually became the sort of immense bestseller that it is now. But obviously, John Ronald Reuel Tolkien was also a young man. In 1916, he married his sweetheart, Edith Bratt. And in that very same year, he had to go fight in World War I as a second lieutenant. At that time, second lieutenants were the most killed people in the British Expeditionary Force. And so he commented later that parting with Edith when he had to ship out from Folkestone to go to France was like a death. He fought at the Battle of the Somme in 1916, particularly deadly and ultimately futile battle. And he got trench fever. That was kind of the deadly virus of the time for those that were in the trenches. Many, many people died of it. He obviously didn't die, but he was convalescent for more than a year after he was shipped home. It was very much an enervating disease. It made it so you couldn't even walk or hardly move for a little while. During that period of time of convalescence in 1916 and 17, he began to fashion the mythology that would later become a vast kind of legendarium. And it's from that legendarium that later on, The Hobbit, 1937, and The Lord of the Rings, 1954 and 55, would be taken. But the legendarium was the most important part of it to him. And during this period, he fashioned one of his most enduring tales. It happens thousands of years before the events of The Lord of the Rings, but it's a famous love story. The love story of a mortal man named Beren and of an elf named Luthien Tenuviel. Connor Johnson, our playwright, is not just a fan and a deep reader of Tolkien, but somebody that wanted very much and has now put his own mark on the work of J.R.R. Tolkien by bringing to life that legend, the legend of Beren and Luthien, but mixed in with the real life of Ronald and Edith Tolkien. So hope very much that you enjoy this play.
Of Ronald and Edith by Connor Nellis Johnson. Cast: Ronald, early 20s, also plays Beren. Edith, early 20s, also plays Luthien. Chorus: Thingol, Elven, Luthien's father. Citizens: elves subjects of Thingol. Felagund, Elven, Beren's friend. Citizens: elves subjects of Felagund. Curufin, Elven, Celegorm's brother. Celegorm, Elven, Curufin's brother. Soldier, Felagund's soldier. Huan, a great hound. Sauron, lieutenant of Morgoth. Orcs, servants of Sauron. Werewolf, Carcharoth, a great wolf. Morgoth, an evil god. Guards, guard of Angbad and Menegroth. Note: this play is imagined for a mostly bare stage. The chorus will play all roles besides Beren and Luthien. Some of the text is borrowed, or stolen, from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion and The Fellowship of the Ring, as well as the poetry of Siegfried Sassoon. Prologue. The chorus enters.
In the beginning there was Eru, the One, who men call Iluvatar.
And he made the first of Vanir, the holy ones, who were the offspring of his thought, and they were with him before all else was made.
And he spoke to them, propounding to them themes of music, and they sang before him, and he was glad.
But for a long while they sang only each alone, or but a few together, while the rest listened.
So it came to pass that Iluvatar called together all the Ainur and declared to them a mighty theme, unfolding things greater and more wonderful than he had yet revealed.
Then Iluvatar said to them,
Of the theme that I have declared to you, I will now that ye make in harmony together a great music. I will sit and hearken, and be glad that through you great beauty has awakened into song.
Then the voices of the Ainur, like unto harps and lutes and pipes and trumpets, and viols and organs, and like unto countless choirs singing with words, began to fashion the theme of Iluvatar into a great music.
A sound arose of endless interchanging melodies woven into harmony that passed beyond hearing into the depths and into the heights, and the music and the echo of the music went out into the void, and it was not void.
But as the theme progressed, it came into the heart of Morgoth to interweave matters of his own imagining, for he sought to increase the power and glory of the part assigned to himself.
Some of these thoughts he now wove into his music, and straightway discord rose among them, and many that sang near him grew disturbed, and their music faltered.
The discord of Morgoth spread ever wider, and the melodies which had been heard before foundered in a sea of turbulent sound.
Then Iluvatar rose, and he lifted up his left hand, smiling. A new theme began amid the storm, and it gathered power and had new beauty.
But the discord of Morgoth rose in uproar and contended with it, and there was a war of sound more violent than before.
Then, again, Iluvatar rose, with a stern countenance, and he lifted up his right hand. Behold, a third theme grew amid the confusion, and it was unlike the others.
It seemed soft and sweet, a mere rippling of gentle sounds and delicate melodies, but it could not be quenched, and it took to itself power and profundity.
And it seemed there were two musics progressing at one time before the seat of Iluvatar, and they were utterly at variance.
Iluvatar rose a third time, and his face was terrible to behold. He raised up both his hands, and in one chord, deeper than the abyss, higher than the firmament, piercing as the light of his eyes, the music ceased.
Exit chorus. Act 1, Scene 1. A glade in Roos, Yorkshire. Edith enters, leading.
Catch up, Ronald. Don't make me carry you because you know I will.
Ronald enters behind with a picnic basket.
Here's a nice place.
She lays a blanket down.
All right.
Isn't it beautiful?
It's nice.
Aren't you glad we went out today? It's the first in weeks it hasn't been raining.
Yes. Thank you.
The grass smells so fresh. I love the smell of grass after rain.
Me too.
Shall we bring out the wine?
She pulls a bottle of red wine from the picnic basket.
I'll have a little.
Certainly not a vintage year, but it will have to do.
Edith pours Ronald a small glass. She pours a large one for herself.
To sunshine, to moonshine, to golden flowers, to clear water, to the light upon the leaves of trees, to the shadows of the twilight.
To you, my Tenuviel.
What's it mean?
Nightingale.
I like it.
It's Sindarin.
Huh?
Elvish.
Oh, well, it's sweet. It's nice to be outside under the sun.
Yes, it's nice.
To singing and dancing.
Edith downs her wine in one gulp, moves to her own space, and begins to dance. Tolkien relaxes and watches.
Won't you join?
I'd rather observe.
Suit yourself.
Edith shrugs and continues to dance. Edith begins to twirl.
Wait, stay there.
Edith freezes.
What?
Edith moves towards Ronald.
Wait, no, go back. Do what you just did.
Okay.
Edith twirls again.
Hold it there.
Edith tries to freeze and keep her balance.
Why am I doing this?
Just 1 second. Try not to move. I have an idea
What is it?
for a story.
Ronald pulls out a notebook, then reaches into his pocket. His hand comes out empty. He frantically searches his other pockets.
I'm missing my pen. I need to go home.
We just got here.
She unfreezes.
Edith, this is important.
What's it called?
I don't know. Can we go? It's going to disappear if I don't write it down.
Tell me the name first.
It's just an idea. It doesn't have a name yet.
Oh, come on. Make one up then.
The Lay of Luthien.
Ooh, I like it.
Now let's go.
How does it start?
Edith, I'm serious. I have to get home.
And you will, eventually. So, how does it start?
In a glade.
Looks around.
Really? What a coincidence. And what happens in the glade?
Well, Beren, a man, sees an elf. Her name is Luthien,
Okay.
and he falls in love with her.
That's it?
For now, yes.
Why does he fall in love with her?
I don't know. Because she's dancing. Slowly, gently, delicately.
Edith begins to dance again.
Like this? What was Beren thinking?
He was thinking he'd like to go home and write the story.
Edith stops dancing.
Ronald, it took me ages to get you out of the house. And the minute we get here, all you want to do is go back up to your room.
I told you I've had enough. I'd like to go home. It's too hot. If I don't write this down, it will be lost forever.
Okay, fine. We can go home.
Excellent.
If you tell me what Beren was thinking.
Edith.
Ronald.
Fine.
When Beren saw Luthien dancing,
She begins to dance again.
what was he thinking?
He was surprised.
Anything else?
That's all.
Really? And you call yourself a writer?
I don't call myself a writer. I just write.
Beren was surprised, and then...
When he saw Luthien dance, all memory of his pain departed from him, and he fell into an enchantment. For Luthien was the most beautiful of all the children of Iluvatar.
Thank you.
Edith stops dancing.
Okay, time to go home.
No.
Yes.
No. What about the rest?
I don't know the rest.
We'll make it up then.
I can't make it up. That's not how it works.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it works.
I mean, right now. I can't just make it up all of a sudden. It takes time.
Okay, then I will.
Edith.
Beren saw Luthien dancing, and he joined in.
No. That's completely wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the one making up the story, and I think it's right. Beren started dancing and jumping and singing.
Beren saw Luthien dancing, and his limbs turned to stone. Blue was her raiment as the unclouded heaven, but her eyes were gray as the starlit evening. Her mantle was sewn with golden flowers, but her hair was dark as the shadows of twilight, as the light upon the leaves of trees, as the voice of clear waters, as the stars above the mists of the world. Such was her glory and her loveliness. And in her face was a shining light. He reached out and whispered, "Tinuviel," for that was her name to him. But she vanished from his sight.
She leaves?
Yep. Now, come on.
He picks up the picnic basket.
Wait, that's it? Where does Luthien go?
I don't know, but the only way I'll find out is if I get a pen in my hand and a paper on my desk.
I want to know what happens next.
And you will.
Fine, I'll start telling it again.
Don't. I mean it.
Luthien vanishes from his sight. Then what?
Edith, I need time to think. I need to be alone for a minute.
Why? We only just got here. Why can't we spend some time together? Talk.
We talk?
No, I talk. You haven't talked since you got back.
I talk.
No, you don't. You may look at my direction while I talk. You might nod in agreement from time to time, but your eyes aren't seeing me. They're seeing past me, like I'm hollow, like I'm hardly there, and I'm talking all the while.
I'm sorry. I don't know how to talk anymore.
Why don't you talk about the story?
Could you dance again?
Of course.
And sing?
Yes.
Okay. Where were we?
Luthien vanished.
Right. When Luthien disappeared, Beren became dumb, as one that is bound under a spell, and he strayed long in the woods, wild and wary as a beast, seeking for her. There came a time near dawn on the eve of spring, and Luthien danced upon a green hill.
Edith begins to dance.
And suddenly, she began to sing.
Edith sings. Ronald begins to move toward her unconsciously.
Then the spell of silence fell from Beren, and he called to her, crying, "Tinuviel!"
Edith stops dancing and looks at Ronald. They hold each other's eyes.
Luthien halted and fled no more, and Beren came to her.
They draw closer.
But as she looked on him, doom fell upon her, and she loved him. Yet she slipped from his arms and vanished from his sight, even as the day was breaking.
Edith runs away. Ronald collapses to the floor.
Then Beren lay upon the ground in swoon, as one slain at once by bliss and grief, and he fell into a sleep as it were an abyss of shadow.
Edith runs back to Ronald. Ronald sits up, exhilarated.
Wonderful.
I was rather good, wasn't I?
You were.
But you were, Myra.
What is that?
Quenya.
Ah, that's Elvish, right? And what's it mean?
Sublime.
I have a question.
What is it?
Why did you say doom? when Luthien realized she loved Beren, you said doom fell upon her. Why?
Because Beren is a man.
And
Luthien is an elf.
still not following.
When Eru Ilúvatar created elves, he made them immortal, so they could be caretakers of Arda, their world. But when he created men, he gave them the gift of mortality.
Sounds like a curse to me.
It's a blessing and a curse. Men are not tied to the world. Elves have no choice.
So Beren will leave.
And Luthien must stay.
I see. So she falls in love with Beren. Do they meet again?
Beyond his hope, Luthien returned to Beren, where he lay in the darkness. She took his hand and led him in secret to the throne of Thingol, her father, king of the elf city Menegroth.
Ronald dresses up an object on stage. It could be a tree or something else to become Thingol.
Upon seeing Beren enter his great hall, Thingol grew angry and scornful. "Who are you," he said, "that come hither as a thief and unbidden dare to approach my throne?" Beren, filled with dread, answered nothing.
But Luthien spoke, saying, "He is Beren, Lord of men, mighty foe of..."
Morgoth.
Yeah, him. Luthien said, "He is Beren, Lord of men, mighty foe of Morgoth. He has..."
"Let Beren speak," said Thingol. "For what cause have you left your own land to enter this one, which is forbidden to your kind? Why should I not punish you for your insolence and folly?"
Ronald play-acts Thingol by stepping behind the makeshift version.
Then Beren, looking up, beheld the eyes of Luthien. Fear left him, and it seemed to him that words were put into his mouth. "My fate, O king, led me hither, through perils such as few even of the elves would dare. And here I have found what I sought not indeed, but finding I would possess forever. For it is above all gold and silver, and beyond all jewels, neither rock nor steel, nor the fires of Morgoth, nor all the powers of the elf kingdoms shall keep me from the treasure that I desire. For Luthien, your daughter, is the fairest of all the children of the world."
The real Thingol enters.
Death you have earned with these words, and death you should find suddenly, had not my daughter led you here willingly.
Death you can give me, earned or unearned.
I perceive that you are proud, son of Berahir, and deem yourself mighty. See now, I too desire a treasure that is withheld. For rock and steel and the fires of Morgoth keep the jewel that I should possess. Yet I hear you say that bonds such as these do not daunt you. Go your way, therefore. Bring to me in your hand a silmaril from Morgoth's crown, and then, if she will, Luthien may set her hand in yours. Then you shall have my jewel.
For little price do elven kings sell their daughters. But if this is your will, Thingol, I will perform it. And when we meet again, my hand shall hold a silmaril from the iron crown of Morgoth. For you have not looked the last upon Beren, son of Berahir.
Wait a second.
Thingol exits.
What?
Is this a war story?
No, it's a love story.
Who is Morgoth then?
Well, he's an Ainur, similar to a god. When Eru Ilúvatar had the Ainur sing Ea, all of creation into being, Morgoth sang a different tune. Because of this, he created orcs and balrogs and all sorts of dark creatures.
Oh, he's evil.
Yeah, I suppose so, yes.
And Beren has to steal what from him?
Silmaril. One of the 3 jewels that the elf craftsman Feanor imbued with the light of the 2 trees before they were destroyed. He swore an oath of vengeance on any beside his kin who tried to possess them.
Okay. So Beren is going to war then?
No.
Really? Because going to an evil god stronghold to steal his precious jewel that so-and-so swore an oath of vengeance on sounds an awful lot like war to me.
In order to marry Luthien, so it's a love story.
Your stories used to make me smile and laugh and imagine little fairy feet pitter-pattering down my shoulder. Now death and desolation is all you write. Like your last story, what was it called? The Fall of...
Gondolin.
War. Ever since you came home, that's all you write about. Haven't you seen enough of it?
This isn't about war, it's about love. Beren has to get the Silmaril so that he can be with Luthien. It's a means to an end.
And when you left for war?
What about it?
Was it for me?
Edith.
You couldn't stand to be seen as a coward, so you went off to join your friends in glorious combat.
Edith.
I thought I'd never see you again. When you were on the Somme, I sat down and prayed to any god I could think of to bring you back. And then you did come back. You were so frail when I visited you at that hospital bed. The gentlest breeze could have broken you. And I thought, back with me, finally. But I'm not sure if it really was you that came back.
Edith, it is me. I promise it is me. There's other parts too, darker parts, but it's still me.
Tell me a happy story.
I can't. I'm sorry, but I can't.
Then how can I know it's you?
I know we've never talked about my time away. I'm sorry. I've tried to tell you what I saw, how I missed you, but something stops me. Edith, it was horrible. I can't bring myself to write about fairy feet anymore.
Okay.
I'll make it as happy as it can be.
Okay. And I'll help.
Silently.
We'll see.
Beren left Menegroth and Luthien behind. He passed through the forest unhindered and came at last to the river Sirion. Many miles northward lay Angband. Yet, as Beren looked westward, he saw the land of Nargothrond cloaked in mist and rain. Upon that plain, the elves of Nargothrond kept unceasing watch. Their arrows were sure and deadly, and nothing crept there against their will. Beren's presence was discovered, and his death was nigh, but he felt that he was watched and cried out, "I am Beren, son of Barahir, friend of Felagund. Take me to the king." Thus Beren was brought over the river Narog before the gates of the hidden halls of Nargothrond.
Wait. Who are these people? Who is Narog?
A river.
Oh, okay. What about the other names?
Angband?
Yeah.
That's Morgoth's fortress.
Oh, what about
Felagund? He's an elf.
Okay.
He's Beren's friend.
So they know each other.
Well, he knew Beren's father.
So that makes them friends?
Well, no, but he did swear to protect Beren when he was born, so it's a kind of friendship.
Okay. Continue.
So Beren came before the elven king Finrod Felagund.
Felagund enters.
He told the king of meeting Luthien and Thingol's demand that he steal a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown. Felagund spoke to Beren with a heavy heart.
It is plain that Thingol desires your death, but it seems this doom goes beyond his purpose, and that the oath of Fëanor is again at work. For the Silmaril are cursed with an oath of hatred, and he that even names them in desire moves a great power from slumber. The sons of Fëanor would lay all the elf kingdoms in ruin rather than suffer any other to win or possess a Silmaril, for the oath drives them. And now Celegorm and Curufin, both sons of Fëanor, are dwelling in my halls. They will stop at nothing to claim their birthright. And though I am their king, they have won a strong power in the realm. I fear they will show neither love nor mercy to you, if your quest be told.
Citizens enter loudly into the hall with Celegorm and Curufin.
Lasta, my people, Lasta.
The citizens are quieted.
Some of you will remember the name Beren here. Those that do not, know that he was a noble man. He saved my life at the fen of Serich, and when I was surrounded by Morgoth's soldiers. Afterwards, I swore an oath to protect him and his line in their hour of need. Now his son, Beren, has come to ask our aid in a great quest, to retake the Silmarils from Morgoth's crown. We will assist him in this endeavor, though it may bring peril, for he has come to us in dire need.
Celegorm steps forward.
If I may, great king. An honorable speech, truly. But perhaps our king has forgotten the history of his kin. You all know me to be Celegorm, son of Fëanor. Long ago, my father forged the Silmarils with his own hands and wore them proudly on his brow. When they were stolen, my brothers, my father, and I swore an oath, promising to stop at nothing to reclaim what is rightfully ours. Here, with my brother Curufin, will I make good on our father's oath. Be he friend or foe, whether demon of Morgoth, or elf, or child of men, or any other living thing. Neither law, nor love, nor league of hell shall defend him from the pursuing hate of Fëanor's sons, if he take a Silmaril and keep it. For the Silmarils we alone claim, until the world ends.
Your history I had not forgotten, Celegorm. I merely hoped you might recognize a common goal.
You like the company of men, great king. Felagund, aid and friend. This is what they will call you. You prefer men to your own kind, but I haven't forgotten my kin. Me and my brothers will claim the Silmarils, and we will kill before we see them in filthy, stinking hands of a mortal.
He spits in Beren's direction, causing a commotion among the citizens.
Gentle people, my brother's words may sound harsh, but their meaning rings true. What would you do in our place? Forsake a father? Break a sacred vow? Give up claim to the right of our blood? Who among you would be coward enough to do such a thing?
Mumbling from the citizens.
I believe not a one you would break such an oath. Our people are strong. We have come through much peril, and we do not break faith to serve the needs of those lesser than ourselves.
Assent from the crowd.
Our will is simple. Either this man abandons his quest, or Thiro.
Celegorm slides his finger across his throat. The citizens cheer. Felagund steps forward and takes his crown from his head.
You may break your oath of faith to me, but I must hold my bond. Yet, if there be any on whom the shadow of our curse has not yet fallen, I should find at least a few to follow me, and I should not go hence as a beggar that is thrust from the gates.
There were 10 that stood by him, willing to follow him to the ends of the earth. Then Finrod gave his crown to Orodreth, his brother, to govern in his stead. Celegorm and Curufin said nothing, but they smiled and went from the halls.
Celegorm and Curufin exit.
On that autumn evening, Felagund and Beren set from Nargothrond with their 10 companions.
Felagund and guards exit.
Wait, what about Luthien?
What about her?
Where is she?
Menegroth with her father. Where else would she be?
She's not going to leave
Why would she?
to help Beren?
I'm not really sure how she plans on doing that.
Why not? Seems like he could use all the help he can get.
Well, I don't think she'd be much use in a fight.
Oh, so Beren is going to have to fight.
Ostensibly, yes.
So it is a war story.
Let's not get into this again.
And what? You think women can't go to war?
I didn't see any on the Somme.
You don't think we would have fought if we could have?
I'm sure you would have tried, and it would have been a great waste of life.
Like it wasn't already. How do you know women couldn't have done just as well?
You have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, sure. Just tell me I couldn't possibly understand.
A woman wouldn't
anything
have
that-
lasted a minute in that hell.
Oh, how do you know that?
Because I was there, Edith. Because I was there.
Ronald steps away.
Maybe you never left.
What?
What?
What did you say?
Nothing.
Edith?
Nothing. I was just talking to myself. That's all.
You're the one that brought it up.
Ronald walks to his own space.
Beren and Felagund left Nargothrond as night fell.
Felagund enters with a guard who is now soldier. They have both large packs.
They went northward soon the grass at their feet turned to mud. The air became foul beyond measure, the sweet smell of decay.
Ronald steps forward, but Felagund catches him.
Careful, mud pits. One wrong step and you're stuck. It'll take time, but you'll be sucked down.
Thanks.
Don't mention it. I've seen it before. Don't want to see it again. Let's take a rest.
Felagund drops his pack on the ground. They sit and pass a canteen of water. The soldier crosses in front of Ronald and Felagund.
The place was rotten with dead. Green, clumsy legs, high-booted, sprawled and groveled along the saps and trunks, face downward in the sucking mud, wallowed like trodden sandbags loosely filled, and naked sodden buttocks, mats of hair, bulged, clotted heads, slept in the plastering slime.
The soldier moves past.
What is this place?
We just call it the Waste. It had other names before the war.
It wasn't always this way?
No. It used to be beautiful. Green hills, clear streams. Nothing lives here now but the rats who eat the dead.
What happened?
War.
Soldier begins to sing or speak.
To these I turn, in these I trust. Brother lead and sister steel. To his blind power I make appeal, I guard her beauty clean from rust. He spins and burns and loves the air, and splits a skull to win my praise. But up the nobly marching days, she glitters naked, cold and fair. Sweet sister, grant your soldier this, that in good fury he may feel the body where he sets his heel quail from your downward darting kiss.
I see.
Tell me about this woman you've left behind. Is she beautiful?
She is.
You love her?
Yes. I love her.
You miss her?
Yes.
You wish she were here right now? I would, if I had someone waiting for me.
I do. I wish I could hear her voice. I wouldn't care if she was upset or yelling at me. Maybe that would have bothered me before. But now, just to be around her, it would be enough.
Ah, you really love her.
I don't know. I left her.
Yes, but you're planning on coming back. That's the difference.
Soldier approaches Felagund.
Captain, we should get a move on. The sun is rising.
All right,
He stands and offers Ronald a hand. Ronald takes it.
let's go.
Felagund and Soldier exit.
Okay, you're right. I can't understand what it was like.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean I couldn't have handled it.
Maybe so.
Also, the part about me was sweet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Thank you.
Not sure what you're thanking me for, but you're welcome.
Would you like to continue?
Beren, Felagund, and their companions journeyed north along the river Narog, but Tevildo, the prince of cats, espied them from his tower. He thought that he...
Tevildo?
Yes, prince of cats.
All right.
What?
Nothing.
What's wrong with Tevildo?
Nothing. I was just surprised, that's all.
Okay.
What's he look like?
Tevildo? Well, like a giant cat, I suppose.
An actor enters half dressed as a cat. He pauses.
Is he supposed to be scary?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Oh, don't act like you wouldn't be scared of a giant cat. People are terrified of tigers. It's basically the same thing.
Okay, I'm just not sure Tevildo will produce the desired effect.
Oh, really? Oh, well, why don't you tell me what would produce the desired effect?
A cruel and powerful wizard whose mind has been twisted by the hatred of Morgoth. He revels all that is green and good and delights only in suffering. A necromancer.
A necromancer.
Ronald shoos off the actor dressed as a cat. He hurries off stage.
And his name is
Sauron.
Sauron.
Thank you.
Anyways, while Beren and Felagund were being espied by Sauron, yada, 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 Luthien is pining away.
Wait a second. I'm telling the story.
No, we are telling the story, and it's my turn.
Edith strikes a pose.
Luthien can sense the danger that Beren is in. She has no way to warn him, and her father will not let her pass the gates of
Menegroth.
Menegroth. She waits in agony as day after day passes until finally she decides it is up to her. She lets her hair grow to a great length, and from it she weaves a dark robe.
Edith dons the shawl she had lain on the grass.
This sounds strangely familiar.
Once she finishes the robe, she places it upon an enchantment. She places upon it an enchantment of sleep. The next night, she sneaks out of her room wearing the cloak. The guards see her, but immediately they fall into a deep slumber. See her cloaked figure, dark against dark. What do you think?
I'm impressed.
Oh, you are so condescending.
What? I mean it. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it was good. I liked it.
We can get back to your part if you like.
I'm curious to hear more about Luthien.
Really?
Yeah. I'd like to know what happens next.
Okay. Let's see. Luthien flies through the trees, following the path she knows Beren has taken. However, it just so happens that the two elf brothers, who I don't like, are
Celegorm and Curufin?
Celegorm and Curufin are out for a hunt in the same woods as Luthien. They cannot see her, but as they rest by a pool, their hound catches her scent. But their hound is no ordinary hound. He is, in fact, a descendant of a great line of hounds created by the gods.
The Ainur.
The Ainur. The hound's name was Huan.
I like it.
Now, Huan was not only magical, he was also given a unique destiny. When he was born, it was decreed that he should not meet death until he encountered the mightiest wolf that would ever walk the world.
Okay.
And he could talk.
Edith, I think you're...
Huan finds Luthien and brings her to his master, Celegorm.
Celegorm and Curufin enter.
And who is this you've brought us, loyal Huan?
Looks like a thieving sneak to me.
I am no thief.
A woman! All alone in the woods. Something bad could happen.
Well, have no fear. No harm will befall you here. I am Celegorm, son of Fëanor, and this is my brother Curufin. We are traveling through this land on a hunt, but we will make for our home Nargothrond soon.
My heart rejoices to hear that you are kin. I will hide myself no longer.
Edith casts off the shawl.
I am Luthien, daughter of Thingol. Any foe of Morgoth is a friend to me.
Little elf princess, out for a stroll in the dark. A bit far from home, aren't we?
I have left in search of a man, Beren.
Celegorm and Curufin exchange a glance.
He is in danger, and I am come to help him in need.
I have not heard before of any Beren, man or elf, but I promise you, sweet lady, whatever my brother and I can do to aid you, you need only ask.
Thank you. I will not forget your kindness to me.
So hasty to be off again? Why not stay a while with us? The night is cold. We could keep you warm.
I don't think you understand.
What my brother is trying to say is that we would be happy to escort you as far as Nargothrond. It is on the path you must take, and there you can rest and gather your strength before you begin your great assault on the parapets of Angband.
I would be happy for the company.
Celegorm and Curufin smile as Edith breaks off.
However, Luthien is betrayed. Once she removes her cloak, Celegorm and Curufin gaze on her beauty and become enamored of her. They take her to Nargothrond, but upon her arrival, cloak taken, locked inside the walls, unable to speak to Beren, perish, and to force Thingol to give Luthien over to Celegorm in marriage. But Huan, the hound, is true of heart. He grieves over the captivity of Luthien and the dishonesty of his master. He often comes to her chamber and lays down at her door.
Edith looks at Ronald with intent.
I am lonely, Huan.
Huan replied, Luthien, I have...
But Huan said nothing, as he was only permitted to speak 3 times before his death. I am lonely, Huan. My love has gone away, and I don't think he will come back. Did you ever love, Huan? I'd advise against it. It's really more work than it's worth. I think you'd be much happier staying on your own. It really is a ridiculous risk, and the person will inevitably end up disappointing you because they are not you, and they will make decisions that you would never make because you know better. And it doesn't matter that you were right all along because they will never see it that way because they're a different person. Am I making sense?
Ronald lays upon Edith's feet. She tussles his hair.
Dogs are better friends than men.
As Huan.
Luthien, I am grieved to hear of your plight. Allow me to right my master's wrongs and help you escape. Follow me now. I will lead you out of the hall. Your cloak we will fetch along the way.
A gong sounds once. Huan has spoken for the first time.
And then he led her through secret ways out of Nargothrond, and they fled north. Huan even swallowed his pride and allowed her to ride upon his back like a steed.
Ronald looks up in disbelief, but Edith clambers on his back and they are off.
Thus they made great speed, for Huan was swift and tireless.
Edith nods to Ronald. They are off. They shuffle across the stage. Then Ronald topples Edith off his back.
Hey!
What? You can't expect me to carry you around all day. My back hurts.
I thought you were my faithful steed.
Well, I want to tell my part now.
Okay, go ahead. Where did you leave off?
Beren and Felagund were seen by Tevildo, Sauron. He sent his orcs to waylay them and their companions. They ambush Beren's company and take them captive. They are brought before Sauron, bound and bleeding.
3 orcs enter, one holding Felagund and the other holding Soldier. The third grabs Ronald roughly. Sauron enters and they are brought before him. Sauron is elegant and surprisingly elf-like. The world grows dark.
Welcome, friends. So pleased you could stop by. And just in time for dinner.
He claps his hands twice. A werewolf enters and drags the screaming soldier off stage.
Such uncouth beasts, werewolves. Sorry you had to watch that awful spectacle. Clean up time.
He claps his hands once, then orc guarding the now-deceased soldier starts to wipe the floor.
Finrod Felagund, son of Finarfin. Would you be so kind as to step forward?
Felagund is pushed forward by the orc guarding him.
Thank you. Now, I'd like to know what exactly brings you to my hall in the company of a man. What say you?
We were brought here by your orcs.
Ha! Yes, very good. Well, if you can't answer the question properly, I'll have to call that werewolf back in. Man flesh would be a rather novel taste for his palate. I'm sure he'd revel in the opportunity.
We are on a quest. You're searching for something.
Ah, that's much better. If you don't mind my asking, what are you searching for?
Something precious. A jewel.
A jewel? Now we're getting somewhere. What jewel?
I will not say.
I must not have been clear earlier. What I meant to say was, tell me everything, or all of your friends die before your eyes.
I will say no more.
You leave me no choice.
Sauron claps his hands and the werewolf re-enters. The werewolf makes for Ronald, but Felagund frees himself and wrestles it to the ground. Back and forth they go in a horrible fight. Sounds of gunshots and shells can be heard in the distance. Finally, Felagund slays the werewolf with his bare hands. But Felagund staggers. He has been wounded to death.
Felagund!
Ronald kneels before Felagund.
I go now on to my long rest in the timeless halls beyond the seas. Farewell, son of Barahir.
Felagund dies.
Farewell, friend.
Such a shame that one of the elder must die to give his life to save immortals, and that such a sacrifice will be made in vain. Kill him.
The orcs draw weapons and advance on Ronald. He is so weary he cannot stand to defend himself. Things look pretty grim when suddenly Sauron's lackeys hear something they have never heard before. Singing. It grows louder and louder until Edith enters, followed by Huan, who is now a large puppet. Slowly the singing comes to a halt.
My dear elf princess, where are your manners? I did not invite you into my hall, much less ask you to start singing. Now, tell me why you have come.
I've come for the man.
Oh, don't tell me. No. All this is just precious. I'm sure Daddy wasn't too happy when he found out his daughter had fallen in love with a...
Let him go, or I will cut out your miserable tongue.
So touchy. Well, princess. Why don't I come and take a closer look?
Sauron advances towards Edith, but pauses when Huan begins snarling.
Ah, yes, the overgrown puppy. Down, boy, down. Shall I fetch you a bone? I'll soon have more than...
Huan pounces on Sauron. The two struggle for a moment, and the noise is horrendous, but eventually Huan pins Sauron to the ground, who struggles mightily.
Flail all you will. You cannot loose yourself unless you would forsake your body utterly.
Sauron eventually slows and becomes still.
Yield me this tower, or if not, I will strip off your raiment of flesh and you may return to your master as a quaking ghost. Therefore your naked self shall endure the torment of his scorn.
I yield.
Edith nods to Huan and releases Sauron, who leaves full of malice and hate. Suddenly, light comes back into the world and Ronald awakens. Edith runs to him and wraps her arms around him.
Beren, my love.
Luthien?
Come, let us forsake this dark place.
Ronald hesitates, looks down at the figure of Felagund.
We must bury him.
Yes, we will bury him.
Huan kneels as Felagund's body is draped on his back. They walk out into a dawn just beginning. They lay Felagund's body down softly, and Ronald covers his body with his jacket.
Green grave for Felagund, Finarfin's son. He walks now in Eldamar with his father, beneath silver trees.
The two walk from the body. Huan lays down.
Come back to Menegroth with me. I will tell my father what has happened. He will reconcile his hasty words.
Tinuviel, do not ask me to do what I cannot. I will not forsake my oath to your father. I know in my heart he will not let you wed me.
Then we will not return. We can make our home elsewhere, among the trees and birds. Our beds will be soft grass, the rivers our baths, and the canopy our ceiling.
No, I must go.
But why? Why must you leave? Am I not here with you already?
Duty and honor command it.
Boring. Forget about honor. Forget about duty. Forget about everything but you and me.
You know I cannot.
No, you choose not to.
I will come back.
Ronald turns to leave. Edith grabs for his hand, but he wrestles free. He exits. Edith sits on the ground with Huan, petting him silently. Suddenly, Celegorm and Curufin enter behind Edith. Curufin grabs Edith and holds her. Huan rises and starts to growl threateningly, but Celegorm steps in front of him.
Huan, remember your true master.
Celegorm raises his hand. Huan whimpers and sits. Celegorm advances toward Edith.
Get away from me.
Edith backs away, but Curufin encircles her.
Don't run, little princess. We're here to save you from that ugly man. We'll take you back where you belong.
Celegorm steps forward, grabbing Luthien's wrist.
Don't be afraid, Luthien. Nobody can hurt you now.
Curufin steps forward and caresses Edith's cheek. In wild fury, Ronald enters and leaps a mighty leap to Curufin. The two begin to grapple as Edith is freed. Ronald gets the upper hand and his hands close around Curufin's throat. We are now entering the world of Ronald's PTSD. Sounds of bombs, gunfire, screams, and planes can be heard in crescendo as Ronald gets closer to killing Curufin. Celegorm runs at Ronald with a spear, but is intercepted by Huan, who snaps at his master and forces him to back away. Still, the noises grow. Edith goes to Ronald.
Stop! I forbid you to kill him.
Ronald takes a second, but realizes what she has said. Slowly, he relinquishes his grip. Curufin gasps for air. Curufin scurries away to his brother, who is still cowed by Huan. Ronald approaches the two, secure in having the upper hand.
I will let you keep your lives, what little they may mean. Your dog I keep for the services of Luthien, and he may be accounted happy to be free of such a master. Now, away with you, and come not again, or you may not find so generous an offer.
Celegorm and Curufin hesitate, but a sharp bark from Huan sends them on their way.
Go hence unto a swift and bitter death.
The two groups begin to exit in opposite ways, but Curufin, overcome with shame and malice, takes his bow and nocks an arrow. He aims, but Huan turns as he does and fires at Edith. Huan intercepts the arrow with his maw. Once again, the sound is building. Curufin knocks another arrow and fires toward Edith. This time, Ronald gets in the way and he is caught in the breast. Huan chases Curufin and Celegorm off in a rage. The lights, sound, and everything has become completely overwhelming as we see Edith kneeling down to Ronald in desperation. Blackout. End of Act 1.
So now we'll take a 5-minute intermission.
Act 2, Scene 1. Lights up on Ronald, who is laying on a cot, weak and emaciated, a wet washcloth on his head. There is a bedside table to his right. Edith kneels beside him, her head resting on his shoulder. Ronald's eyes open.
Edith,
Yes, I'm here.
where am I?
We're at home. We had a bit of an episode.
Oh. Are you all right?
I am fine. It's you I'm worried about.
What happened?
Well, we were telling your story, the story, and you sort of had a fit.
Oh,
Luckily, there were two young men nearby and they helped me get you home.
I see. Did you catch their names?
No, I didn't ask.
Okay. Thank you.
Ronald,
Yes?
are you all right?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Would you like to finish the story?
Ronald, I don't know if
I
that's
think we should try and finish it.
You need to rest, Donald. I think...
Please, Edith, can we finish it?
Ronald, you were unconscious, for God's sake. I don't think telling these stories is good for your health.
Edith, please.
No, I can't stand by and watch you suffer like this.
Edith, I need to finish the story.
Why?
What do you mean, why? You were the one who wanted me to tell it.
Yes, and look what happened. You collapsed on the grass. You were convulsing. I thought you were having a stroke or a seizure or something. It was terrifying. I never should have let you go on thinking about war. It's eating you up. All day you dwell on what happened, and all night you dream it. I'm sorry. I encouraged you today, and I was wrong. Your well-being isn't worth some meaningless story.
It isn't meaningless.
It is. It's just a silly war story.
Love story! It's a love story. I need it.
I think it's going to kill you.
Edith exits. Ronald sighs and looks around. He stretches over to the bedside table and opens the drawer, pulls out a piece of paper and a pen. He puts the piece of paper on top of a book and writes, "Of Beren and Luthien," with a flourish. He looks excited. Then he pauses. And then he looks unsure. He hesitantly scribbles some things down, not all in one groove. He pauses again, writes one more thing, and gives up. He puts down the pen and crumples the piece of paper into a ball. He closes his eyes and lays back down. His eyes open again. He sits up and looks out at the audience.
Well, I guess there's nothing for it. Luthien gathered herbs from the forest to heal Beren's wound. 2 nights and days they rested together, but Beren's heart was torn between his oath and his love. Knowing Luthien to be safe, he rose one morning before the sun. In great anguish, he departed while she yet slept upon the grass. He went northward with all speed and came upon the wastes of Anfaglith. From that desolate plain, he could see the high peaks of the mountain Thangorodrim, where Angband, the iron prison of Morgoth, was cut into the rock. Then, being alone and upon the threshold of the final peril, he sang a song of parting, for he believed he must now say farewell to love and light.
Ronald sings, quietly at first, but the song grows as his confidence does.
Farewell, sweeter than northern sky, forever blessed since here did lie. And here with lissom limbs did run, beneath the moon, beneath the sun, Luthien to Nuviel, more fair than mortal tongue can tell, though all to ruin fell the world, and were dissolved and backward hurled, unmade into the old abyss, yet were its making good for this. The dusk, the dawn, the earth, the sea, at Luthien for a time should be.
Edith enters silently.
Farewell, sweet earth and northern sky, forever blessed since here did lie. and he with lissom limbs did run beneath the moon, beneath the sun. Luthien to Nuviel.
You sang.
Yes. Sorry.
It was beautiful.
Yes. Well,
I haven't heard you sing since before. Why did you sing?
because I thought Beren would, and because I wanted to.
Why would Beren sing?
Beren sings when he's hopeless.
You?
When I'm hopeless, I write.
I don't really think the story is meaningless. It's not meaningless.
Can we keep telling it?
Yes, of course.
Could you start?
Where are we?
Beren has left Luthien. He is alone, preparing for the end of his quest.
Okay. Luthien knows that Beren will not, on his own, achieve his dire task. After little thought, she follows him upon the back of Huan. She hears his song and finds him alone. I will not let you make this journey on your own.
Upon seeing Luthien's approach, Beren is dismayed and thinks to dissuade Luthien from her journey. However, in his heart he is glad and therefore relents. Thrice now I curse my oath to Thingol, and I would that he had slain me in Menegroth rather than I should bring you under the shadow of Morgoth.
You do not bring me. I come of my own will.
No.
I know you know.
Still, the peril is great. I would not see you harmed.
It's you I'm worried about.
I'll be fine.
Together,
Shall we?
Beren
Shall we?
Together, Beren and Luthien journey through deadly peril, but at last they reach the great gates of
Angband. Black chasms fall on either side of the road, and the forms of writhing serpents can be seen at their distant bottoms.
on either hand of the gate, great cliffs rise like walls of the keep, and upon them are vultures crying out with fell voices.
Before them is the impregnable gate, wide and dark at the foot of the mountain. Above it, the cliffs rise 1,000 feet.
Then dismay takes them, for guarding the gate is a wolf, greater in size than any that walked the world.
He was Carcharoth, the Red Maw, fed on the living flesh of mortals before the feet of Morgoth.
The fire of hell burns within him, and he is filled with a tormented spirit.
Carcharoth enters.
Now, Carcharoth espied them from afar, and when they approached, he drew near with menace, sensing something strange in their scent.
But suddenly, some power seized Luthien, and she stood forth, small before the might of Carcharoth, but radiant and terrible. Lifting her hand, she commanded him to sleep. O woe-begotten spirit, fall now into dark oblivion, and forget for a while the dreadful doom of life.
Carcharoth resists for a second, but is overpowered and slowly falls into sleep.
Then Beren and Luthien fly through the gate and down the labyrinthine stairs of Angband. In the nethermost hall of that dread keep, they come at last to the throne of Morgoth. It is upheld with horror, lit by fire, and filled with weapons of death and torment. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do this.
Morgoth on his great throne enters. It's pretty intense.
You finally made it! Oh, you actually made it! This is so exciting. You have no idea how few visitors we get.
Morgoth, I have come to claim.
Yes. I know all about your little scheme. Too good. All for love. How poetic. You know what? I think that's just precious. Come forward, Beren, son of Barahir.
He beckons and Ronald is pulled forward against his will.
Yes, yes. Just like your father. Shame I had to kill him. So handsome. I must admit, I start to salivate at the thought of your head mounted on my ramparts. Why, it'll be the best my fortress has looked in years. Yes. Well, move along now. On to the main course.
Ronald is thrown violently to the side with a flick of Morgoth's hand. He pulls Edith forward.
Luthien, daughter of Thingol, fairest creature to ever have graced my hall. I'd like to see what's underneath that robe. Quiet! Don't want to frighten her. No, no. I will treat you always with respect, and I promise to be faithful to you, blah, blah, blah. You get the picture. Yes, we are to be betrothed. Didn't my wolf tell you? Oh, wait. He's a wolf! Oh, Luthien, you should see the expression you have right now. Too good. And guess what? The date is set. It's tomorrow morning! Woohoo!
The guards clap.
Oh, I've always wanted a morning wedding. Of course, the sun doesn't get in here, but just the same, it sounds nice. What? Aren't you excited, my queen? Well, I suppose we'll have to turn that frown upside down now, won't we? Guards, bring her to the dungeon. Oh, and feed the man to the wolf. He missed his dinner tonight.
Guards come forward to take Edith. Others try to bind Ronald's wrists. He struggles against them.
One moment, Your Highness, if I may.
Of course, my delectable little elf.
I would like to sing you a song in celebration of our upcoming matrimony.
Yes, yes. Oh, wonderful! Guards!
The guards step away from Edith and Ronald.
Let's hear it.
This song my mother taught me. May you like it well.
Edith begins to sing. It is quiet at first, and all the court leans in to hear. She captures them with ease. As the music begins to build, all in the hall are completely swept away. Subtly, quietly, Edith dons her black cloak as the song continues. Guards begin to drop to the floor in a deep sleep. Ronald does as well. Morgoth half mumbles something, but eventually his head droops in a deep slumber. Suddenly, the 3 silmarils in his crown begin to blaze a bright white. Edith sings a while longer, then ceases. Edith wakes Ronald. He stands and cautiously draws a knife from his belt. The sound echoes dangerously around the hall, as do all the sounds in this sequence. It's really tense. He approaches Morgoth and begins to work at prying out the center Silmaril. The noise is excruciating. Morgoth stirs a bit, but is not close to waking. Finally, the Silmaril is pried out with a loud pop. Morgoth stirs violently and all the guards turn in their sleep, but still no one wakes. Ronald holds the Silmaril in his hand, gazing at its beauty. He closes his hand around it, stops, thinks for a moment, and goes to pry another from the crown. Luthien beckons for him to leave it, but he ignores her. As the knife is bending to slide the second jewel from the crown, it breaks. The noise is deafening as it echoes around the walls. Morgoth begins to stir again, and this time Edith and Ronald don't wait. They book it out of the hall. They leave without hindrance and make their way to the bridge. They are stopped by Carcharoth, who has awoken from his slumber. He comes forward to Ronald and Edith, but Ronald holds the Silmaril forth.
Get you gone and fly, for here is a fire that shall consume you and all evil things.
Ronald thrusts the Silmaril in front of Carcharoth, who flinches and backs away, until he springs forward and bites Ronald's hand off at the wrist. Ronald screams, but Carcharoth drowns him out with his horrible howls as the Silmaril in his belly burns his corrupted innards. He runs wildly off stage. Edith, in shock, tries to staunch the wound with her cloak. From behind them, they can hear Angbad stirring, with Morgoth's voice telling his guards, "Bind them, burn them, burn them! Yes, yes!" Hundreds of feet can be heard pounding on the ground. Edith searches around frantically. Once again, elements of World War I enter the world. Ronald is on the ground. It looks like he may have another episode.
Wait!
Everything comes to a halt.
What?
Are you okay?
Yes. Why?
Well, I just didn't know if you're about to,
No. I'm okay.
Okay. So, this is the end
Of what?
of the story, right?
No. It's not, I promise.
How do they escape?
The eagles.
Oh, no. Not eagles again.
What's wrong with eagles?
Nothing's wrong with them. You just use them. Often.
What? No, I don't. Okay, maybe once or twice. But Thorondor is the king of all eagles, and he sees the madness of Carcharoth, and so circles closer and closer to the ground. Seeing Beren's injury and Luthien, he swooped swiftly down and lifted them from the earth.
Go on.
Thorondor bore them into the clouds as fire and smoke bellowed from Thangorodrim, the mountain of Morgoth. He took his way far above the earth, seeking the high roads of heaven, where the sun day-long shines and the moon walks amid the cloudless stars. Thus they passed swiftly southward over the wasted plain and fogloth to the fair meadow of Dorthonion, until Thorondor set them down on the edge of Doriath.
Huan met them there. And together with Luthien, he tried to heal Beren's dire wound. Long Beren lay, and his spirit wandered upon the dark borders of death. Then suddenly, when their hope was almost spent, he woke again, and looked up, seeing leaves against the sky, and it was spring again.
Thereafter, Beren was named Erchamion, the one-handed, and suffering was graven in his face. But he had been drawn back to life by the love of Luthien, and together they walked in the woods once more. Luthien was willing to wander in the wild without returning, and for a time, Beren was content.
Huan approaches Ronald. Edith is out of earshot. He speaks for the second time.
From the shadow of death, you can no longer save Luthien. For by her love, she is now subject to it. You can turn from your fate and stay in exile, seeking peace in vain while your life lasts. But if you will not deny your doom, then either Luthien, being forsaken, must assuredly die alone, or she must, with you, challenge the fate that lies before you, hopeless, yet not certain. Further counsel I cannot give, nor may I go further on your road. All else is dark to me, yet it may be that our paths will meet before the end.
2 gongs sound to signify Huan's second time speaking. Huan exits.
Luthien, it is time to go back
To where, my love?
to your home.
I have no other home but with you. If ever I did before, I have forgotten it.
It is not fit that you should live always in the woods. You are a princess.
Yes, a princess of moonshine, of golden flowers, of clear water, of the light upon the leaves of trees, of the shadows of the twilight.
I must go.
Why do you keep saying that?
We've been over this.
I know, and I'm still not satisfied.
I swore an oath.
So your honor is more important than me.
Don't you see that this is all for you?
All what?
Everything. The oath, the fighting, the war.
Explain how that's for me.
Are we Beren and Luthien, or Ronald and Edith right now?
Both.
Okay. Well, neither Beren nor Ronald could be with you without going to war.
That's not an explanation. Beren, I understand a little, but he's fiction. You actually left me. You left me alone.
How could I stand by and watch my friends leave and die and do nothing? All of my friends from school, everyone I knew was lining up to defend their country. What was I supposed to do? Stay here and wait for them all to be killed? What was I supposed to do?
So it wasn't for me.
Edith.
What? You said it yourself. You left for your friends. You didn't leave for me.
You're right. I didn't leave for you. I'm sorry.
Me too.
She turns to leave.
But I wish I had.
She pauses, but decides to leave anyways.
That's why Beren does.
Edith stops.
What?
Beren left for you. He can't be with you until he leaves. I didn't know that before, but now I do.
Why are you telling me this?
Because this story is for you. And for me. It's for both of us.
And
I will never be able to apologize enough for leaving you. But this story is my best chance.
I see.
But if you'd rather not go on,
Do you really mean it?
Yes. I do.
Okay. Let's finish it.
Really?
Yes.
Thank you.
Shall we?
They grasp hands and come to Menegroth. Thingol and guards enter in a rush. Ronald breaks from Edith and stands before him.
You dare come back to my hall after entreating my daughter to disobey my will? Have you returned to beg my forgiveness?
I return according to my word.
Your word? Your word means nothing. You tried to steal my daughter from me, and I will make sure you never see her again.
My quest is fulfilled. Even now, a Silmaril is in my hand.
Show it to me.
Suddenly, Ronald puts forth his left hand and slowly opens his fingers, revealing it to be empty.
It is not here.
Then you have lied to me. Guards!
Father!
Ronald thrusts forward with the hand missing.
It is in the belly of the beast, the great wolf Karkaroth. Call me now Beren or Camion, the one-handed. Though you may think me Camlost, the empty-handed.
You are no...
But it was not by my will alone the Silmaril was claimed. It was your daughter who overcame Morgoth and his host. I owe my life to her.
Luthien, is this true?
It is true. And it is true that I owe Beren my life as well, for his hand was lost as he warded off the baleful wolf. Father, he did not ask for me to come. I followed him of my own will. Forgive him.
It seems to me that I misjudged you. I yield my will, and if she will have you, my daughter is yours.
I will.
Let all enmity between us be forgotten.
He reaches out his left hand.
Nuviel?
She takes it, and Ronald leads her before his father.
Let it be known to all that Beren Erkamion and Luthien, Princess of Doriath, are wed. May they keep each other's company and give each other joy in the dark days.
The sound of doors being thrown open. A guard rushes into the hall.
My liege, a fell wolf has been spotted to the north. He's making great haste toward our hall, laying waste to all in his path.
Looking at Ronald.
Your wolf?
Yes. My doom has come at last. I must take your leave once more.
You don't need to. This is my hall. I will defend it to the last. I will join you on this hunt.
Father, I beg leave to fight as well.
You must stay behind, my daughter. War is a man's game.
Father, please.
Luthien, my word is final.
My king, Luthien is as much of a warrior as I am. She has bested the beast before.
The question is not of her courage, but of my willingness to lose her. My own life means nothing against hers. I assume you feel the same.
Father, please.
Guards, escort my daughter to her chamber.
Guards mobilize.
No!
We'll return, I promise, to Nuviel.
He lays a hand on her, but she backs away and sits in despair. Thingol and guards exit.
So begins the haunting of the wolf. In the morning, we ride forth and pass over the river Esgalduin. Huan joins us there. A dark shadow is upon the land, and it seems the sun has sickened and turned black. We follow the course of the river until at last we come upon Karkaroth the wolf, drinking madly to quench the fire in his belly. Karkaroth watches our approach, but he slinks aside into a deep break and hides himself there. We set a guard around the place and wait. The shadows grow long in the forest.
Sound begins and starts to build.
Suddenly, we are aware that Huan has left our side. As we call to him, a great baying awakes in the thicket. Bursting from the thorns comes Karkaroth, and he leaps suddenly upon Thingol. I stride before him, spear in hand, but Karkaroth swipes it aside and bites into my breast. We fall together.
World War I sounds begin to supplement the sound.
In that moment, Huan leaps upon the wolf's back. They fall together, fighting bitterly. The sound of their struggle is deafening, with the baying of the hound and the howling of the wolf. In the howls of Karkaroth was the hate of Morgoth, and malice crueler than teeth of steel.
The World War I sounds are overpowering all other sounds.
Teeth of steel.
Ronald starts to falter.
They fight.
He's seeing something. He stops speaking. He looks like he might faint.
Steel.
Edith goes to him, trying to snap him out of it.
Huan and Karkaroth fight on, bitterly and horribly. Thingol sees that Beren has been wounded. He goes to him and comforts him.
She sits Ronald down on the cot. He closes his eyes.
A sudden noise splits the air. Huan has slain Karkaroth at last. The quest is at its end.
Ronald comes back, eyes still closed.
But Huan has taken hurt from the fangs of Karkaroth, and the poison of Morgoth overcomes him. He comes and falls down at Beren's side and speaks for the third and final time. Farewell.
Well.
Is all he says.
3 gongs sound.
Beren lays his hand upon Huan as he dies. Thingol takes a knife and cuts the Silmaril from out of the wolf's belly. He places it in Beren's left hand. And Beren is stirred by the touch. He says, "Now is the quest achieved, and my doom full wrought." Thus, Beren, son of Barahir, passed from the world.
Ronald's eyes open again. He stands.
They bore Beren Erkamion upon a bier of branches, with Huan the hound at his side. At the feet of Hiralorn, the great beech tree, Luthien met them walking slow. There she set her arms around Beren and kissed him, bidding him await her beyond the western sea. But the starlight was quenched, and darkness had fallen, even upon Luthien to Nuviel. Thus ended the quest of the Silmaril.
The end. Or
No, no. That's not the end.
What do you mean? Yes, it is.
No, it's all wrong.
What's wrong with it?
What the hell happened to Luthien? You can't just say darkness befell her and leave it at that.
Okay, grief takes hold of her and she dies.
Wrong. That is just totally wrong.
What do you mean it's wrong? It's my story.
No, it's our story. You said so yourself.
I came up with the idea.
And I gave you the idea, so we both own it, and I say the ending is all wrong.
I'd like to see you do better.
Okay, I will.
Go right ahead, see if I care.
Back to Thingol marrying Beren and Luthien.
Let it be known to all that Beren Erkamion and Luthien, Princess of Doriath, are wed. May they keep each other's company and give each other joy in the dark days.
My liege, a fell wolf has been spotted to the north. He's making great haste toward our hall.
Yes, okay. Fast forward.
Guards, escort my daughter to her chamber.
We will return. I promise, to Nuviel.
Suddenly, Luthien dons her robe, and all about her fall into a deep slumber. Luthien wakes Beren, and they leave the hall behind. Huan joins them as they search for the great wolf. As they journey deeper into the forest, Karkaroth sees them and hides. He pounces upon Beren, tearing at his chest. Huan leaps. The two fight furiously, and the sound is calamitous until Luthien steps before Karkaroth, whispering a word of peace. Upon hearing Luthien, Karkaroth becomes still. His spirit leaves his tortured body. Beren and Luthien return to Thingol with the Silmaril. They are married at last, and they live happily ever after.
That's not right.
Why? Because there's not enough death and darkness?
No, because it doesn't feel right.
What's wrong with happily ever after? It's a happy ending.
No, it's not.
What do you mean? It's like the happiest possible ending ever.
Edith, it's not. Luthien is an elf. Beren is a man. She will watch Beren die and go on living. She will watch her children die and go on living. Does that sound like a happy ending? They have to die. It's the only proper way to end the story.
Aren't there any other options?
No, I don't think there are.
Okay, fine, they die.
Okay.
Okay,
Really?
really.
You're not going to put up more of a fight?
Nope. Beren is killed by Karkaroth and Luthien dies of a broken heart.
All right, well, thank you.
But that's not the end.
Edith.
There ends the tale of the quest for the Silmaril, but the tale of Beren and Luthien does not end there. Luthien's spirit follows Beren to the underworld.
Edith, can you just take
Luthien's spirit follows Beren to the underworld.
the halls of Mandos?
Luthien's spirit follows Beren to the Hall of Mandos. Beren's spirit tarried there, unwilling to leave the world until Luthien came to say her last farewell. There are others there, waiting in the shadows of their thoughts. But Luthien's beauty is more than their beauty, and her sorrow is deeper than their sorrows. Luthien seeks out Mandos and finds him sitting deep in thought.
Edith looks pointedly at Ronald. Ronald sits to become Mandos.
Mandos, my name is Luthien, daughter of Thingol.
My child, what brings you to this desolate place? I see grief upon your face.
My lord, I've come to beg release of one near to my heart.
Sweet child, do you know how old I am?
No.
I am older than death itself. And in that time, I have heard countless pleas and answered none. I cannot give you what you seek.
But the one I seek is a man of great deeds. He took a Silmaril from Morgoth's crown. His name is Beren.
I know of whom you speak, and I say, there are many in my hall who are called great, but still, they may not leave.
Please, I beg of you.
Do you not see the others grieving around you? They have come for the same purpose. What makes your griefs greater?
Edith sings a song of great sorrow.
Never before have I been moved to such pity, nor do I think I will be after. I will grant your wish, for I see now that your love is greater than anything I have known. I now give you a choice. Because of your labors and great sorrow, you may be released from this hall and taken to Valimar, there to dwell with my kindred until the world's end. Forgetting all griefs your life has known. Thither Beren could not go. The second choice is this. You may return to Arda and take with you Beren. There you will dwell again, but without certainty of life or joy. And you would become mortal, even as he is. Ere long, you will leave the world forever and become only a memory and a song.
I choose the doom of mortality. I forsake the blessed realm. Whatever grief may lie in wait, I will share that fate with Beren, my beloved. Our paths will lead together beyond the confines of this world.
You have chosen well.
Ronald stands and goes to Edith.
To Nuviel.
Beren.
They embrace for a beat.
Beren and Luthien lived out the rest of their lives together. There was not always peace, and there was not always joy.
Finally, their last days came. Together, they took their final breaths.
None saw Beren and Luthien leave the world, or marked where at last their bodies lay.
But somewhere, beyond the confines of creation, they are together still. What did you think?
You, Hardy and Kalima.
What's that mean?
It's a secret.
Well, it's almost dinner time.
Okay, but I really must write this down. It can wait. Will you be able to remember everything?
Will you get some rest tonight?
Edith.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you too. I'm glad you're back.
End of play. The epilogue should be sung as a ballad. Then the cast can dance as a curtain call.
The leaves were long, the grass was green, the hemlock umbels tall and fair, and in the glade a light was seen, of stars and shadow shimmering. Danuvial was dancing there, to music of a pipe unseen, and light of stars was in her hair, and in her raiment glimmering.
As Beren looked into her eyes, within the shadows of her hair, the trembling starlight of the skies, he saw there mirrored shimmering. Danuvial, the elven fair, immortal maiden, elven wise, about him cast her shadowy hair, and arms like silver glimmering.
Long was the way that fate them bore,
O'er stormy mountains and cold and gray,
through halls of iron and darkling door,
and woods of nightshade more or less.
The sundering seas between them lay,
And yet, at last, they met once more.
And long ago they passed away.
In the forest, singing sorrowless.
Hey. Hi, so just a reminder, we have a talk back after the show, which is now. So if you want to join us for that, you're welcome to stay on. If you have specific questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat and I will mediate the discussion. Otherwise, I think we'll just have the playwright and the director join me on the screen so we can have a little discussion. All right, so I'm going to start with a couple questions for Connor. First, could you just talk briefly about what inspired the play, simply?
Yeah, so I wrote this play early last year, at the end of last year, in Tim Slover's playwriting class. The original idea was just to adapt Beren and Luthien because the Silmarillion is kind of an ignored part of the canon of Tolkien. But as I started to write it, Tim gave me the idea, basically, for the whole show. And there's all these interesting parallels between Beren and Luthien and the actual Ronald and Edith. In fact, their graves, they have under their actual names, Ronald has Beren and Edith has Luthien, which I think is quite touching. So the seed of the idea was, oh, well, it could be like an origin story for Beren and Luthien, while also telling the story, because not a lot of people have heard it.
Awesome. Yeah. Then my other question for you is if you could talk a little bit about the process of melding Tolkien's writing and his actual life with your writing and your ideas, because you did such a wonderful job of creating, you took his writing, but then obviously it wasn't all his writing, and wasn't, I'm assuming, based on our class, not all just facts about his life, but certainly some facts that were in there, so.
Yeah, I do want to stress that this is wildly inaccurate and there's no evidence that this ever happened. Yeah, I took a class last year, or last 2 semesters ago, which was on Tolkien, which I think kind of was the original, kind of what started the idea of maybe writing a Beren and Luthien play. And we learned a lot about him, and we learned a lot about his time in World War I, which was really formative on him. And I wanted to kind of include the fact that he had all of his original writings before he left for war. He still wrote fantasy, but it was really light stuff. And then after the sorry, just reading chat. After let's put me back on track, Jess.
You were talking about the Lord of the Rings class and how that was...
Right. Yeah. So after he got back from the war, he was really changed, and like a lot of people. And I also wanted to include some World War I poetry. I think World War I as a war is kind of not as talked about as World War II for a lot of reasons, and a lot of good reasons. But World War I was a pretty horrible thing for a lot of soldiers. I mean, for all the soldiers involved. So I think it's worth like also kind of going over that. And that was kind of the original, that was when like PTSD kind of started to become, or I guess PTS started to become, it was called shell shock back then, but that was when it became a really widespread disease, especially among soldiers.
Thank you. Okay, so Connor would like some feedback then from the audience on the play. So I have some specific questions, and then if you have other questions or comments, you're also welcome to ask. But specifically, were there times when you were ever lost in the play? And if you can either put it in the chat, or you can raise your hand in the chat, and I will...
You could unmute yourself, right? And just ask.
Yes, and then I'll call on you and you can unmute yourself. That way we just have lots of people trying to talk at the same time.
Or if you were never bored and
well, so I asked whether they were lost. I haven't gotten to the next part of the question yet.
Oh.
The next part of the question is, were there particular points in the play that you were super engaged, and were there particular points in the play that you were less engaged? We have a chat. Not an answer to the question, but thank you. the epilogue, it seems like. Okay, well, if we don't have any, if you have answers to those questions, oh wait, here we go. Yay. Okay, I was lost in a lot of the scenes in the show, especially the closer moments that held more tension between Edith and Ronald. The relationship in history was great. And then when the professor was introducing your play and giving us a bit of background, I wish I was paying closer attention so I had a bit more background and context. Do you want to speak to this at all, Connor, or would you just like to take it and move forward?
Let's see.
I would agree. I'll talk and you talk over me as soon if you want to, Connor, but I would tend to agree. I think that with Sydney, in that the back and forth between Ronald and Edith was very engaging, and brought some lighter humor and stuff that I really appreciated in this. And hearing it this time brought that out a lot more. I am not I wouldn't say I'm not a Tolkien fan, but I'm not like somebody who knows a lot about Tolkien. And so there are definitely points when we started doing this play that it was a little bit hard to follow, but the way that Edith also doesn't know everything about his world, for me, really helps with that.
Definitely on the same train as you, Jessica. I think the story between Ronald and Edith was the most beautiful. Like, it was so clear just listening to it. And I think that even regardless of the format that we're in now, just the relationship between you two was definitely more well written and well performed, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have anything else to say on that, Connor, I'm going to ask Nadia some questions, but...
Yes.
Okay, Nadia. My main question is, what was it like workshopping this play?
Oh my God. Well, from the beginning, when I first heard the script in class, So Connor sent the class all of these different pieces to kind of get the background information on the story that he was telling. And like Jessica, I'm also not a huge Tolkien fan, but at least I'm aware of the story. But I was interested. I was intrigued from the beginning when we read the script for the first time, and I was excited to kind of delve more into it. So in a way, I kind of snagged this gig, which I was excited about, because I wanted to see what I would expand it, how I would expand it. And of course, I had a lot of ideas of doing that physically, but since we've resorted to this online format, I still wanted the main focus that I wanted to bring forth was just the storytelling, because they're literally telling a story, both of them. And so I wanted that level of imagination to come alive, and also to share what Ronald and Edith, have together as the couple.
Something that Tim mentioned in the comments that I have a question about is, what would you do if you were to direct this as a full production? How do you see this coming to life? And Connor, you're welcome to weigh in on this as well as the playwright, how you envision this coming to life as a full production.
Was that a question for me first?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow. I think so. From my previous performance experience, I have definitely gained a love for physical theater. I just love movement and really telling a story with more of your body and just having the whole experience. So I definitely would have incorporated a lot of more movement, not necessarily like dance, but a lot of like choreographed motions, especially with the chorus, when they speak in the prologue and the epilogue, just some sort of just physical aesthetic that I feel like could bring a lot to the piece, because it's so poetic. This whole play, there's just this beautiful poetry to it. So I think it would be well accompanied to some movement. That's one of the main elements that I would add for sure.
Connor, do you have anything?
I mean, I would say that it's sad. It's sad that we didn't get to do this in front of a real audience on a stage. But one of the things that I do think is the most important part of this play is the language. Thanks, Sean. I'll talk about the poetry, actually. It's a good segue. Some of the poetry I wrote, it's not poetry. Some of the stuff that was poetic I wrote, most of it was stolen from Tolkien himself. And then also we had a bit of Siegfried Sassoon in the middle with the soldier. I really like heightened language. I think it's kind of sad, maybe. No, it's not sad, but in modern plays, there's not a whole lot of heightened language, and I'm a big fan of Shakespeare and a lot of classic theater where heightened language is kind of the norm. So it's always, I mean, whenever I come across a modern play with heightened language, it's very exciting. And I also I don't think I'm very good at writing heightened language, which is a definite downside. So I knew that I had the majority of the stuff that I was going to be writing was going to be colloquial contemporary language. So it was nice. I mean, I don't think I could have ever written this play. I mean, obviously, but even a play that was different without like the framing and the structure and the kind of text that I was able to borrow, because it really, it was basically the skeleton of the play, and then I kind of filled everything else in, which was a lot easier.
Yeah, even like as Sydney just commented, the balance between the colloquial and the heightened language, it was nice to hear because it didn't feel like a period piece. It didn't even feel like there was a time period to me. It kind of just felt, there's a word for it, but I can't find it right now. And timeless. There you go. It was timeless. And it's because it's fantasy, fantasy doesn't have to live in, such a fixed time or place. So I think the language that you made, like the alliteration and you practically wrote some of this in prose. So just like hearing that in that style definitely added to the overall effect.
All right, we're gonna go to a question about that we kind of skipped over for a moment, but somebody asked how you envision the fantasy aspect of this world.
Writing this play, I wanted it to be a play that I could potentially produce. So I've always imagined that the set is pretty much bare, except for maybe one central piece, like maybe a tree or something. For the fantasy itself, like with the fantastical characters entering, the way I imagine it in my head is that they either have big old masks or they're puppets or something fantastical, because I've always been a fan of that stuff. But honestly, the more, well, I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see what Nadia would say about this, because I also, the more kind of deeper we got into the process, I realized that I wouldn't mind just seeing people like in semi-costumed. I think the goal is to force the audience to imagine at least 50% of what's going on, but the actors have to do that as well to make it convincing.
Thank you. We also had a question about your plans to further develop this wonderful piece moving forward.
Sorry, keep reading the comments. Moving forward, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I might submit this play. I probably would rewrite maybe just one or two things. With any play, I've never written a play before, but like I just feel like you never know if it's actually going to be ever done. I think if it was ever to be produced, it's probably going to be because it's been produced by me or people that I'm working with, because that seems like the most likely option. And I'd like to maybe one day.
Great. We don't have a ton of time left, so I'm going to try to go in order of the questions that we've received. We have for Nadia, did you choose this show? Did you have to fight against other directors? Also, how would you signify storytelling versus real time with Ronald and Edith?
Good question. Well, first, in a way, I did kind of fight for this play. Not for the reason that you probably think, because this piece is really great. I originally just so in our class, people get to choose what type of position they are: director, stage manager, production, just all the different positions. And I chose to be director. And I asked him if I could direct this show specifically because I just wanted to go first, and I kind of wanted to get all of my ideas out and workshop them before my life started to get crazy. But then I realized, like, wow, I kind of lucked out because I really just fell in love with this piece and I wanted to do all that I could for it. So that was just a nice result for that. Just scroll back to it.
How would you signify the difference in the timelines of fantasy storytelling versus Ronald and Edith?
Right. So originally I wanted all of the fantasy characters to like be physically different, rather like in color, like they would all be wearing gray, like some sort of physical color change, just so we know who's real and who's not. Kind of what we try to do in this reading, but yeah, still. Cool. I don't think there would be much of a difference because, like Connor said, the amount of imagination is actually really crucial, I feel, to tell the story effectively. So I think it's really just more in the performance rather than any like physical change to the characters. But yeah.
Okay, and then Connor, your typing is very loud.
All right.
Okay. We have somebody asking about whether you see this as a way to potentially make the Lord of the Rings universe more accessible, like the films did.
Yeah, I'd say that's like a good goal that maybe I didn't have at first, and now I think is like pretty good aim. Yeah, I think like I do think like there's a whole side of Tolkien that is really, pretty nerdy. I mean, Lord of the Rings is nerdy, but like people that, like real nerds read the Silmarillion. But it's a great book, and so I just, I don't think it will ever be on the same par as Lord of the Rings, but I think that it's cool to enjoy this other text, and there's other ones as well, but there's other very, important text that Tolkien wrote before most of it before the Lord of the Rings.
Great. That's about, well, okay, we'll do one more question that I can see, and then that's all we're gonna have time for.
Wait, we gotta pick Sean because he said pick
I
me.
know, he said pick me. That's the one I was going for. Trust me on this,
Sorry,
okay?
I didn't mean to usurp your...
Thank you. Sean's question is, what if you had Ronald and Edith play all the characters?
So, in the original draft, well, not draft, because I didn't get that far, but that was the plan. And then I decided that I liked the idea of them getting lost in the world of imagination. I mean, that sounds kind of cheesy, but like the idea, my conceit was that they get deeper and deeper into the imaginative world. And then they come out, there's kind of like ups and downs, but I wanted it to become kind of immersive. Now, I think that's a great idea, and it would certainly be, I think, change some of the kind of meaning of the play. But in the beginning with Ronald, he actually talked, like when I pulled out this guy and I talked about Thingol, or I said like I was pretending to be Thingol. That was originally, that whole scene was originally just Ronald pretending to be Thingol. But actually, I decided that I liked it better if we start to enter into like a world. There is more. I don't think it was as clear as it would be on stage, but like there are parts where where Ronald pretends to be other characters, mostly Ronald, not so much Edith. So yeah, I mean, there might be more of that than was obvious in this version of the reading.
Sweet. I think that's all we have time for, but thank you guys for participating, and make sure that if you enjoyed this, and even if you didn't, but I think you probably did, to join us for the rest of the play readings. We have one tomorrow night, Nat Nelson's Survival Instinct, and then we have one Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Yes, come join us. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's go to the cast party.
I could set up the breakout room for you.
I don't know what we do from here.
I can.
Should I debrief with you and Tim, Sydney?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Let's see.
Nadia, if she wants to join.
Yeah. Why don't we go? We could go in the breakout room, and that way, if
Okay.
we don't have any, weirdos. Sorry, not weirdos. All of you people are lovely, and we love you all. Thank you for coming. If you're still here and not part of the class.
If you are part of the class, you are a weirdo.
Well, yeah.
Understood.
That sort of goes without
Okay.
saying, really.
Great.
It's a given.
Hey, get out of here, Liam.
Get Liam out of here. I don't want to see him today.
Wait, where's the breakout room?
I don't know how to go to the breakout room.
I didn't get invited.
I'm not invited either.
Well, you're not, you didn't write it.
I thought it was for the cast party.
No, it's a debrief with Tim and.
Oh. So there's no cast party? I seriously thought there was a cast party.
We're still recording.
This is the real epilogue.
Where'd they go? I'm all alone.
They're talking about you.
I know. You can tell who left the talkback early. Looking at you, Kobi.
Hmm.
Oh, never mind.
I'm sorry, I stepped away for a minute, then everyone left, so I was left here.
I'm waiting to get an invite to this breakout room.
Wait, oh no.
Sydney, I never got invited to the breakout room.
Didn't? What? Okay.
Yeah, I'm still here too.
Is
What's
this
going
breakout
on?
room the cast party, or is it a separate?
No, it's not the cast party.
I thought there was a cast party.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and you're not invited. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll have my own cast party. All I need is right here. I just need my prop beer for. That's all I need.
Your shoes and your lamp.
Yeah. And my thermos.
Wait a second. I don't know how to do this anymore. But you were in that's so weird though, because you were in the breakout room earlier. Okay, let me try.
Earlier, yes.
It just says not joined on, I don't know. Let me, I'm just gonna close the other room and bring Nadia back in here.
Okay.
So to clarify, there is no cast party.
Well, I could get a beer and drink it in front of my camera if that works.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, yeah, me and Kobi are still here. We want a cast party.
I've already got my prop beer.
Did Tim head out?
I guess he did. I guess he ran away. Much as he loves you, but I'm sure we can debrief with Tim further later. Liam, your performance was transcendent. I see.
He can't hear you.
I know.
I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about you. Stop thinking about yourself all the time.
Oh, by the way, Connor, my girlfriend texted me. She said that you were really endearing and awesome, and she didn't know that you were the playwright until I told her, and it blew her mind. So.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Writer and star.
She wanted to say